Gentlemen, welcome to this video. And this video is probably the most important video that you can watch regarding dating girls in the AI space, okay? And it's going to be fully raw, fully unedited, and it's just going to be me talking about my theories on how it's dating going to be now, in the present and in the future, based on all of the information that we have now, based on what the governments want to do with us, based on money, based on dating apps, based on AI stuff, and also based on my own experience, right? Now, what I'm going to say is probably not 100% truth, but if you follow along, you are going to see that things are going to make sense. And I don't have a clear picture in my head yet, but I think we together, as a conversation as if we were both friends, we are going to figure things out. And we are going to understand how going for girls now, or starting to build a family now, and having that idea in mind is absolutely crucial. Otherwise, it's going to become way, way harder in the next years. So now is the time. And in this video, I'm going to try to break down with you and also with my own thoughts, why is this the situation, right? So just a bit of context on my background story, if this is your first video you see about me. 2 years and a half ago, I was a complete inexperienced guy, full incel, not any inserting in any girl, nothing, okay? And now 2 years and a half later, I've gone on 411 dates with 202 different girls, okay? And I have clapped 54 of those girls. Most of them I didn't meet through dating apps. Dating apps never worked for me. So that's pretty much the context. I have all of the proof on my YouTube, on my Twitter channel, which is a bit more uncensored. So if you want, you can check it out there. But yeah, that's basically my background story. And in the last 2.5 years, I've had insane tons of reference experiences with girls now on the TikTok AI generation, right? So what do we have here? Now, men are struggling more than ever to get girls, right? Well, not all of them, because some of them, like me now, we are getting more girls than we can handle. And I'm not saying this from a bragging position, gentlemen. I'm saying this from a very proud position, because 2 years and a half ago, I was not getting anything, okay? And I was trying, going out, party, clubbing, Hinge, Tinder, Bumble, and I didn't get anything, right? So I'm saying this from a position of inspiration, that it's possible, okay? But the reality is most men are not getting any girls. And how situation and history, how history has taught us, many things, the same way the wealth is now getting distributed, most of the wealth is, in the hands of a small number of people, particularly men. It's going to be the same with the access to beautiful girls and feminine girls, right? Now you can still have a bit of hope in Eastern countries, in Europe, for example, or South American countries, and of course, some African countries too. They still have the traditional values of relationships and family building, let's say. But that's going to change very, very soon, especially with AI now, right? You probably are familiar with these things, and I'm not sure if this video is going to get restricted. It probably will, but if you're watching it, hopefully it stays for a few more minutes so you can finish watching it. And governments, they want full control of the population, right? They want men to be slaves. And usually they found that the most effective way to do that is through girls, right? Because they understand how we are always competing for female attention, right? And that's all of these concepts of, being a simp guy, a needy guy, but basically if all men were to make a revolution, then the power would be a problem for the government, right? So they need men, feminine men, to keep other men in line, basically, right? And yeah, then this conversation can go forever, right? You can talk about all of the plans of removing meat and this type of, or fats that increase your cholesterol, and therefore it makes you easier to produce vitamin D and testosterone, which makes you less agreeable to the government and the police and all of these things. And usually you want to prefer to live a life of greed, raising your own cattle, your own food, and just being with your family and reproducing, right? That's, and also the fiat money, the currencies, they don't want that, right? They want to have everything very controlled by them, right? So situation now, and of course, by the way, we saw it, I think, in Warsaw, Poland. I was around 1 year ago. For a bit of more context, the way I get most of the girls that I meet is through day game, through cold approach. So basically, I approach them in the street, I get the contact details, and then I take them on dates, right? And this has been in the surface of the earth probably for around 20 years. I mean, even more, but like since the mystery method, since Neil Strauss, I would say early 2000s people started, or like 2008, 9, they started with the day game, approaching girls in the street. And, we know how powerful these media companies are. And what happened in Warsaw, Poland 1 year ago, if you've ever gamed and approached girls in the street, you kind of know that Warsaw is overgamed, which it really isn't in some senses, but overgamed. Out of gamers are there approaching girls like in the main areas, like Flotte Tarasi, the main shopping mall area. If you approach a girl there, it's likely, and she's hot, of course, she's gotten approaches, that same day by 10 other men. Then it got famous on Reddit and, made the BBC News, blah, blah, blah. One of my girlfriends now, she's in Poland, she's in Krakow, and she's getting approached, bro, 3 or 4 times a week, okay? And depends what she does. If she goes to the main areas, she gets approached 3 or 4 times a day. And she tells me, right? Now, I'm not mad at this because I used to be approaching, and I'm still approaching girls that have boyfriends. It's part of the game, right? But the thing is, what I'm trying to get with this conversation is, I think we are running out of time to find really, truly beautiful, soft, feminine girls that are ready to build families, and not only ready, but they are willing to do so at a very young age, so we can reproduce and have as many kids as possible with them, and are also healthy, and they are not using all of these cosmetic products, or they are in places where the skies are actually clean, and we don't have like the planes going over the skies and just dropping shit chemicals. The same with like glyphosate and the pesticides they put on the food. Like each day that goes by, and of course nothing is going to happen revolution-wise, I would say, from the population, because governments are pretty smart. Like the people run, and when I say governments as the ones ruling the world, I also mean like the people on top of the governments, right? They are very smart people, that's why they are there, right? And I think their plans are probably going to succeed. So the solution that we have is not try to fight against them. I would say is just live in a decentralized way, right? Where you control your own assets, your own money, you know how to protect your own family. You have good health, which comes from the light, from the sun. And it's not so much food as you think, right? We are just light creatures, right? And if you want to dig a bit deeper in this, there is this doctor, his name is Jack Kruse, okay? And the way of typing it is like this. Let me make it here. Jack Kruse, okay? Very smart guy. I suggest you check him out. But yeah, I think it's going to get harder every time. And I'm one of those that believes that, especially if you're completely inexperienced, a man with no experience, you need to get some experiences with girls, right? Because you can read all of the theory, that's nice, but until you start going on dates, until you start seeing what patterns these girls have, the things that you actually are willing or not willing to tolerate, until you actually have those reference experiences, it's very hard for you to improve. And let's just do, because probably if you're watching my videos, you're probably rational, man, right? So let's do some numbers in your head. Let's say that you want to have one wife. And when I say wife, I don't mean like from, getting married through the government and just giving power away to the girl. I don't mean that. I mean just like a long-term relationship with a girl that you want to be like a long-term family with. Maybe you want to have different kids with different girls, but let's just assume one girlfriend that you want to keep for whatever years, at least to get, many kids and have a happy life with her, right? So let's say one wife. Now, let's see how many girlfriends you need to get to that wife. How many, let's say, lays or intimacy you need with girls to get to the girlfriend situation. So then you get into the wife. Let's also see, and let's just make this a bit bigger so you can see it here perfectly. Let's also see how many dates you need to have, right? And also, also how many numbers or contact details you need to get, right? This is based on the approaching model, but still this is applicable for whatever method you are using. If you are using dating apps, if you are organizing parties, if you are organizing events, if you are famous, like this is still going to apply to you as a man, okay? To get wife material girl, so you have, let's say, put here kids with her, right? Again, doesn't matter if you're meeting them through dating apps. What is going to change, by the way, are going to be the conversion rates, right? As you probably imagine, if you are famous, let's say, which I am not, but if you are famous, you are probably going to have higher conversion rates because your perceived value is higher. The girls don't want to lose or miss out on you. So basically, you know, if you invite them to your place, basically they will be ready for intimacy sooner, right? Because they don't want to miss out on you, right? Also, if you're meeting girls through dating apps, it's probably not the same, not as strong for like wife material, like here, right? As if you're meeting them in the street, for example, or in a bookstore, right? Maybe if you're meeting through dating apps and they're already coming on a date with you, they're a bit more ready to be intimate with you. But again, maybe you don't want to keep those because they are in dating apps. They've been with many men at the same time, right? So there are many variables here, but let's just assume these numbers, right? So we have contact details, and then here we're going to have approaches, touch point with girls, right? Let's say something like that. So, and this, by the way, this is going to be based on your own sexual market value too, right? If you are average, if you are a bit above average, if you are a bit below average, or if you are super high in the scale or super low, like things are going to be easier or more difficult. And you're going to need to do more or less numbers, okay? Of course, like here we are keeping it real. So let's actually go through this, right? And this is based on my experience. And as I mentioned, on the last 2.5 years, I have approached around 3,500 girls. It took me 700 girls to get my first intimacy, okay? 700. I know maybe you are just listening, but you're not hearing, right? Or you're hearing, but you're not listening. 700. Imagine 700 girls. Like I could fit how many girls in this? I mean, this is a huge room. Probably can fit like 20 girls in this room. Imagine, I don't know, fucking a lot of like 35 of these rooms, right? A lot. So, anyways, let's say kids, one wife. Okay, how many girlfriends you need to go through to get one wife? Now I'm going to talk about my experience, okay? Because at this point now, you could say I have 3 girlfriends. Before I had 4 girlfriends. Then I went back to 1 or 2, and then I have 3. So over my life, I've had a few girlfriends. Of course, the retention graph is a bit difficult for me to explain with data because, as I mentioned, I've only been doing this for 2.5 years, right? So I haven't been 10 years with one girl. But usually what I'm finding my bottleneck is getting enough dates, right? And you would say, really? That's your bottleneck? You've gone on 411 dates, right? Yes, but my retention, if I want to, is very high. Like, with all of the experience that I have now, the routines that I do with the girls on the dates, and by the way, again, I repeat, you have first link description. You can check it out fully for free. But the routines that I do with the girls and everything, like, usually it's easier for me to keep them and to get to the intimacy if I want to. Now, of course, with some girls, especially with the ones that I'm dating now, like 18-year-olds, these things, it's taking me more than 1 or 2 dates. And I think I shared this story in this channel a few time ago, but one girl that I was seeing, it took me 40 dates, 40, okay, to get intimate, right? And I think that's worth it for the right girl. I'm not against that, but in any case, I lost track of what I was going to say. So so it's quite hard for me to say like basically my bottleneck now, and I would say it's always going to be like this, is getting enough dates, right? Which still I get dates, but I'm way better at the conversion part. So how many girlfriends do we need to go through to pick mom of our children, let's say? So this highly depends on your pickiness. How picky are you? And also, how picky are you, it also depends on how much experience you have and how many reference experiences you have, right? When I was 16, again, I had no experience. But this was when I was in high school. This was like so many years ago. But I was in love with some of these girls, and I was just, I was talking with one of my friends yesterday, and like I was explaining to him how I was feeling like pain deep here on my chest whenever this girl was not interested in me and was interested in my friends, for example, right? Like that was like true love, you could say. Like I was feeling that pain. Now, when I've gone on so many dates and I've met so many different girls, like now I'm more picky, right? And it's harder for me to actually see what's a perfect girl. Some people may argue that there is not such thing as perfect girl, and you have to be the one training her, let's say, right? Or just tailoring her behavior to what you like and what you also think. When I say you like, I don't just mean it from a selfish perspective. I also mean it from you should be the responsible of the family, and the male-female dynamic should also weigh on you. So everything goes well and your children have a beautiful life too, and they are raised the right way. When I say beautiful, I don't necessarily mean that we have to educate the same way men and women, but I don't want to get into too many things. Anyways, so how many girlfriends do we need to get to the wife, right? Let's just do some numbers. Let's do 10 girlfriends. Because let's be honest, a few of the girlfriends that you may have initially, you're not going to be able to keep. That's one thing. Other the girlfriends, you just don't really like that much physical-wise. You just kind of got whatever you could get, right? Other ones, you're going to see you like them physical-wise, but they are a pain in the ass. They are a pain in the ass, and even though they could be tailored to you, it would take such a long time, and she's just brainwashed with TikTok, with Reels, and all of these things. So I would even go as far to say that 10 girlfriends is not enough to actually pick a wife. But let's say 10 girlfriends, okay? Now, how many... And from these 10, you would pick one wife, right? Let's say from the 2 or 3 or 2 that you like physically and personality-wise, still not perfect, but you can tailor things to your liking so the family thrives, right? Let's say 1 or 2 of those, and you pick, right? Which then here we would go into other issues, which is, okay, you've picked the wife, you only have one option now. So basically your optionality now is reduced to 1. You only have 1 girl, right? And if you only have 1 girl, you are 1 girlfriend away from having 0 girls, which means your behavior in the dating situation when you have this girlfriend is going to be compromised. Right? Because if you do things that she doesn't like, blah, 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 then maybe she leaves you and now you're back to 0 and you have to do the full process again. So here, that's how you get to the point of, okay, I need to have more options so that if my wife or my girl does things that I think are not good for family building aspect of things, then I would just say bye to her and pick another girl. And only you can do this if you have options, right? But that's another story. As you can see, like this video is just me sharing like my experiences, like kind of in a raw way. Okay, so now how many lays or intimacy would you need to get 10 girlfriends? Okay, of course this depends as well on the type of girls that you are dating, in where are you approaching these girls, right? We could overall say that the United States girls have higher body counts that traditional countries have. Of course, we could say that. There are always exceptions, but in general, right? So how many intimacy to get 10 girlfriends? Let's say, the thing is, I cannot put a number on this, gentlemen, because it can vary so much. You could get literally from 15 intimacy, you can get 10 girlfriends if you are doing things right. And if you are talking with the right girls, right? But if you are on the ground side of the world, or you're approaching girls that even though you're in this side of the world, still they are a bit more, promiscuous, let's say, you would need to approach or to have, I don't know, like 40 plus, 50 plus lays or intimacy with girls, so then you can get to this situation, right? Now, maybe one question that is popping in your mind, gentlemen, is why would I need to have 10 girlfriends so I pick one? Right? By the way, this is not necessarily simultaneously, like having 10 girlfriends at the same time, right? But why would you need this? Because if you just fully jump, let's say from the experience getting, intimacy getting, stage here, and you just go straight to the wife, you are going to miss out on so many things, right? You need to have experience of having girls that you are seeing recurrently, like frequently, not just like in a friends with benefits frame, but also with girlfriend boyfriend thing, like just doing boyfriend girlfriend things, inviting them out to restaurants, having like a quick trip. Like you should have, by the way, and we were talking about this like inside of my community, right? But you should have a way of filtering which girls are going to be wife materials or not, right? Or are like better blueprint for being a wife material or not. So then you can tailor it for the well-being of your family, right? And some people could tell you, okay, this takes 6 months to figure out or 1 year to figure out, right? But ideally, you should install some systems in your life that makes this filtering process faster, okay? Because time is our most valuable resource, gentlemen. So imagine having to wait 1 year per girl to knowing if she's actually wife material, right? Like it's not so sustainable. Like we also need to provide for the family, we need to make money, we need to raise our sexual market value, we also need to enjoy experiences with our friends, right? So ideally you want girls to be with you, and you have to go through like different period cycles, like menstruation, like ovulation, like to see how she's on her period and on her fertile days, how she is when something bad happens to her family, how she reacts, right? Or when a high pressure moment happens, imagine you are with her in the car breaks down, how is she reacting? Because those things you need to know before you have kids, right? Otherwise, you could get surprised when you are actually having the kids with her and, things get out of control, right? So ideally you would want to test all of these things out, and one thing you can do is do trips with girls, 2-3 day, 1-2 week trips. Like you can do 2-3 day, and then you can do 1-2 week, 1 month trip, right? Just to see how they react, right? You have to ideally, have very good conditions for some of the trips and some bad conditions for the other ones. Like this may sound to you that we are forcing things, right? But I've always been very rational. I've always been a bit nerdy. I was never a natural, you could say, with girls, right? So I've always tried to find ways to systemize things and to figure out if this is actually a efficient way or not, right? So these organizing events or like the parties or the 2-day, 2-week trips, like these things. So yeah, let's say 15 to 40 lays or intimacy. Now, how many dates you would need to get this number of lays or intimacy? Okay, and again, here it heavily is influenced by your conversion rate that you have, and your conversion rate is based on your game, the knowledge that you have, based on your sexual market value, also based on your calibration, how much trust girls have on you, right? Which is important as well if you're willing to be intimate with them. So it also really depends what girls are you dating, of course, right? With some of them, it may be easy to get this type. Now, other people, by the way, could argue that you don't need to be intimate to have girlfriends. Of course, that could happen. I'm just talking from what I have experienced. And I've been with girls from all over the world. Okay, I've been Spain, America, France, Italy, Germany, Russia, Ukraine, Poland, Colombia, Czech Republic, Finland, like all of these places, like I've been with them, right? So now in 2024, 2025, 2026, so I'm just being realistic to what is actually expected, right? I've gone, as I mentioned, on 411 dates. Well, now it's more, it's probably 425, but I haven't updated my numbers yet. I will do. From this, it was 202 different girls, okay? So as you know, this is almost double girls that I've met. compared to the dates that I've gone on. Why is this? Because, you know, some of you in Twitter, the other ones are men. But no, okay? This is because I've gone on with some girls on just one date. With other ones I've gone on 2, 3, 4, 5, a lot of dates, okay? So that's that. And I was intimate with 53, well actually now 54 or 55. Yeah, it's between 53 and 50. I have to update the numbers, so it's between 53 and 55. Let's say 54. So you could say, okay, I'm being intimate with 25% of the girls that I'm taking on dates, right? Approximately. I mean, it's pretty accurate, 25%. Now, of course, there are many things that play a role here, right? The first dates and the first girls that I was doing, like 40, 50, 60 girls, like I had no clue what I was doing. Still, I was learning so much. As I mentioned, it took me 700 approached girls to, you know, to actually get intimate with them. Now, of course, conversion rate has increased way up. Also now, if I take a girl on a date and I don't really like her that much personality-wise, and I'm not that, you know, let's say, wanting to empty my balls, then I would probably just not put that much effort. And either it happens like this or I don't care anymore and I won't text her back, right? So there are many things that plays a role, but this is kind of an estimate of what I've, you know, accomplished, let's say, if you could say that, right? So how many numbers I've gotten? I have not data from this, but I could give you a pretty rough estimate, I think. And I think I've gotten over 1,000 numbers, right? Numbers / like Instagrams, right? By the way, and here again, here we're also playing like with many variables that may change depending on you, right? So as I mentioned, I already went over the top end of this estimate of this like recommendation, right? So I'm going on this number of like intimacy situations, right? And I mentioned it from 15 to 40. And I've gone on this, I've been intimate with 54 girls, and still you know, because pickiness goes up, I haven't picked wife, right? Now I'm seeing a few girls that are nice, and, you know, things could happen, but yeah. So there are many things that are hard to say, but I'm just trying to put numbers on gentlemen, so you actually, you know, see what the numbers could look like, and you see what actually you would need to do if you want to build a decentralized family that doesn't depend on the state as well, right? And yeah, you want to have kids, you want to, you know, educate them, you want to have your girl laying close to you in the bed with her head on your chest while she's sleeping, and you have your kids there as well. You have dogs around, you have dogs nearby, you have your own cows if that's what you want. You are doing nice plans, you do nice vacation, you take your girlfriend with a camper van, and you know, you are intimate with her in the middle of the forest, like these experiences, right? So yeah, let's continue. I've done at this point 3,500 approaches approximately. Okay, I have recorded 2,800 of those, including dates, by the way. But at some point, I thought, okay, I will just stop recording them. Why? Because I didn't like to have electromagnetism here on my wrist. I was recording with Apple Watch, and I was having like some pain, so I just stopped recording it. But yeah, I have like 2,800 recordings there, and I estimate I have done like over 800 extra or something like that since I stopped recording, okay? Also now my volume has decreased because I'm, you know, not as horny, let's say. Yeah, because, you know, I'm just having my needs covered, let's say, right? Of course, this depends when I'm traveling and the places that I'm living at, but in any case. So if you want a wife, let's say you need around 10 girlfriends, then 15 to 40 lays or intimacy with different girls. So you also build up reference experiences. Also on the girlfriend situation, you would build up experiences on the dating stage, like the girlfriend stage as well. Like what things should you do to not lose your frame, by the way. Right? Other reason why, by the way, these numbers are lower than mine is because I had to... I made so many mistakes on my end that now people inside, for example, my community, they don't need to make as much because they have all of my experience dropped there. Of course, you are still going to, and you still have to make mistakes to learn from your own experiences, but it's not the same because you already have like a kind of a guideline, let's say, right? Anyways, yeah, so that's why this number that I've gotten on, like I've reduced it because if you follow like the right systems and you know like the right theory, you don't need as many reference experiences to be actually good at something, right? Or good enough. So yeah, 1,000 numbers, 300, 3,500 approaches. So I already know most men are not going to do this. The reason why I did it is because for me this is actually important. Like, this is really important for me. Okay? Family is really important for me. And I was just focusing on business, which I am still on my business that I run. But a few years ago I was only focused on that, and that had to to stop because priority is family. And yep, that's the reason why I think this is very, very important. So as if you are still watching to this point, the video, you probably also have similar pain to the pain that I had regarding not getting enough girls. That's actually what kept me pushing through this many rejections, right? And also it's your own fear. You're going in the street, right? So what's actually going to happen? What's actually going to happen with all of this, right? I would say with high estimate accuracy that unless you're a really good looking man, and even if you are, the girls that you are going to get through dating apps are not going to be the wifey girls that you want to keep. Of course, this is a generalization, of course, but I think if you are still watching to this video, up to this point in this video, and you've watched my videos, by the way, you can subscribe to support the channel and let me know if you like these videos. But if you are watching up until this point, I think we both agree on that. Girls through dating apps, and if you've had experience, you are lucky enough that you are going on many dates through dating apps, you probably know that these girls may be nice, looks-wise. If you are very nice looking men, then you're probably getting very nice looking girls through dating apps too. But most of the time, they are a bit older than you would want them to be. They don't look like in the pictures. Personality-wise, they may be very chatty, very talkative, but they're so easy to jump on a different boat. If a higher estimated value guy comes, they just drop you. Oh yeah, we're just situationships, blah blah blah, right? So we already know dating apps is very unlikely to be where you're going to find your girlfriend, right? So let's just continue. What other ways we have of meeting girls? I teach 5 inside the community. We have and also in the free system. You can just go description. You have it for free. So we have dating apps, okay. We have social circle events, okay. Then we have night game. So basically, parties at night, events, club game, all of these things. Then we have cold approach, right? And then we have inbound systems, which applies usually for famous men, right? I'm assuming you're not famous. I'm assuming you are not getting good results with dating apps neither. And if you are, those are not the girls you're probably going to keep. So we have 3 in the middle. We have cold approach. Well, the first one we mentioned before, it was, what order did I mention? I don't know. Well, social circle we have, night game, and day game. So basically approaching girls during the day, which is not necessarily the definition of day game. Day game could also be defined as approaching girls in situations where it's not socially acceptable to approach girls, right? Because if you have a day party, that's kind of not day game. That's still night game, right? Because it's kind of this social event, this pool party, that's still kind of social, right? Day game is approaching girls in the street, in the grocery store, in the shopping malls, on their way to work, on their way to studying, blah, blah, blah. We have night game, and then we have social circle. Social circle is nice because it's already building trust, so it's nice. Problem is, you are limited into, who is actually making these social circle events, right? Think about it. Who is making these social circle events? How many of those are you going to? And actually, you are limited by the girls that are there. So you're a bit just crossing your fingers and praying that is actually a nice girl there that not only is nice physically, but is also nice personality-wise, or like a good blueprint, right? Or maybe if your friend introduces you to her. But again, I don't want to base my success with girls in social circle because it feels like I don't have that much control. So it's, by the way, all of the methods are a good way to get girls, but I'm just going to discard this too. So we have 2 more here. We have night game and day game, right? So night game is just going to parties, clubs and everything. And even if you are not that nice looking guy, by the way, night game, you're also going to have higher competition, right? So there is going to be many men there. Alcohol is involved. It's also going to be a big problem with your schedule, right? Your circadian rhythm, your health is going to get definitely impacted. You are mostly as well competing more on, I would say, physical traits, right? It's hard to, communicate your, well, you can also communicate your like displays of high value here as well, right? But in general, let's also agree the girls you're going to meet on nighttime events are, generally speaking, not the girls you want to have as mom of real children, right? Just partying and partying and partying and drinking, right? So even though it could be fun with your friends, and it's actually one of the most efficient ways to get intimacy with girls, because you can just go at the club at 1 a.m. and pull a girl at 2 a.m. So it's efficient. You don't need to go through the texting, through the dating stages, right? Also, one thing you're going to find out, girls that you meet through nighttime, usually they are more difficult to keep, even if you wanted to, but they just put you in that box of, okay, yeah, it was like a one-night thing. And unless your sexual market value is way higher than hers, it's going to be a difficult thing to keep them, right? And even if it was easy, like, would you actually want to, as we mentioned, right? And so that's why I just went all the way in with cold approach and day game, because I just approach a girl, I'm already seeing her in person, I know if I like her physically or not, I can talk with her to see how she reacts, I can build a bit of attraction and a bit of comfort, I can drop some displays of high value. Again, I have all of the tutorials on how I do everything, my system and everything, right? But I'm just giving you like the bird's eye view here. So for me, like, that's why I went so full in with cold approach. Of course, I tried the other methods because they are the easiest compared to cold approach. Regarding like fear of rejection, like cold approach is one of the hardest things you can do, right? You're just competing with everything. You have your balls here, right? So that's why I left it for the end. But as any of the other things were not working, then I had to do this. And I also met very nice men throughout the way, right? Like very nice friends that are actually my best friends up to this point. So it's actually nice to meet also men in this part of their journeys that are willing to do the hardest thing because they are so committed with their family goals, right? I think it's actually inspiring. That's why also we have the community and we have members inside. So what I'm trying to get is, for me now, keeping everything realistic, I would say the best way to find a wife is through cold approach, right? Now, again, that's based on my own experience and my own traits and everything. I could not get girls through dating apps, right? And yeah, so that's based on my experience, and I would say it's most of my friends' experiences too, and the people that we have in the community is fairly the same. So if you let these numbers sink in, if you also let prices of things are going up, right? Inflation is a thing. They are going to, have like they're going to try to remove cash as much as possible, right? They want to centralize all of the currencies. They're just removing that freedom, right? So at some point, who knows, like maybe in 5-10 years, you want to go to a different place to approach girls there, and you want to spend your own money that you have in your own bank for the flight tickets, for the Airbnb, and they're going to ask you questions like, why are you going there, right? So yeah, I think that's also why Bitcoin gives you a bit more freedom in that sense. Anyways, this video was completely raw, which is my thoughts, and I think, like, I'm so glad that I started this 2.5 years ago. I mean, at that point, I would have liked to start before, right? But the pain was so high at that point that was just like forcing me, like, man, you have to do it now, right? So that's that. This quote, I think it's from Chinese literature or something, is the best moment to plant a tree was 25 years ago. The second best moment is today, right? So if you start now, by the end of 2026, you are going to, have way more experience. And to be honest, I don't know how many years we have left. And I'm a bit concerned with the AI thing. Like, of course, like, it's very nice. It helps you in work and this, but I truly don't know how much time we have left. A few days ago, this new Claude Fable 5 model was dropped and they just removed it, they banned it, right? Maybe you're watching this a few years later and things have evolved so fast and so much already. But yeah, maybe in 2027, 2028, AI is so good at everything that we are not going to be, competitive anymore. And unless you got rich before that time, and unless you got experience with girls before that, with AI actually comes, it's going to be so fast, everything, when it controls everything, like surveillance systems, maybe your face, it's 24/7 surveilled. And if they believe approaching girls in the street is not good for society, even though you could argue it is, if they believe that and they have cameras and they have AI technology following through, you are not going to be able to do it without getting imprisoned for approaching girls in the street, right? And I don't think this is far away. So, yeah, I think it's best to have options to learn this now. And if for whatever reason then AI gets so good, you at least have a few options of girls and at least a skill that you can use to get some girls before that. And then choose one so you can go in the mountains, live a decentralized life with her, with your friends, with their girls too. You can share this video, by the way, with your friends. Not sure if they're going to watch it, because usually this, if they are not ready to hear some things, it's just definitely not good to watch until the end of this video. But anyways, gentlemen, hope this video was useful, and let me know what you think of this style of videos. And yeah, you can check on the first link description, the free dating system. Also, once you fill out the form, you could check as well the community. Probably I will also send it to you in the email if the automation is working. So, and you can check many of my other videos here. Take care, gentlemen. See you soon. Bye-bye.